Good evening, Razorback Nation. How are we this afternoon? We are back this week with our regularly scheduled show this week. Not a lot of heartbreak to deal with this week compared to last week. So we are back at it on our normal schedule. And, of course, we are brought to you by Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. Austin will be joining us in a little bit, Transplant Texan. But I was going to say, man, Hobbs, you letting the brand down not wearing the hat. Come on.
Yeah, I figured if I wore it every show, it would get, you lose a little bit of its touch. I need to get me some more. So I'm just rocking the area hat today.
There you go. But in place of Hobbs not wearing his hat, you can check out this new polo that is a Razor Pigs polo. It's hard to tell a little bit, but it's a pattern of the state of Arkansas, one of their many fabulous polos that you can get. Dry fit material, fantastic feeling. Would love to wear this on a game day at the golf course, anything like that. So go check them out today and, get all your Razorback needs. Glad to see you joining us, Brian. Glad to have you joining the show. And you can't forget about one of our OG sponsors, Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today if you're in Northwest Arkansas, and you can check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get Scarlet Letter and in all its various flavors on taps, including their new hard teas that comes in regular, peach, raspberry. So go check them out today and, tell them we sent you over. They'll be glad to hear that. So, as we titled this episode, Remy breaks his silence. So, as Arkansas, it broke, back in the spring that Arkansas was hiring a GM. Remy Cofield coming over from Boston Celtics, a great organization over there that, they really have it figured out. They know what they're doing over there, up until just the other night was the defending NBA champs. And so, coming from that organization, being under Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge, you saw Remy Cofield kind of come out in his first interview presser that he's had since he's been at Arkansas. It's been a while. It's been kind of very quiet, interesting on, why we haven't seen anything from him, up until now. Like Transplant Texan said, Remy is real and not just an enigma made up by the university. But, watching his press conference, I don't think there was necessarily a lot of meat on the bone, if you will, from that presser. I think it was more of an introduction. Here's this guy. Here's what he's going to do. And ask some basic questions. There's a lot that it seemed like he said, I can't really talk about that or address it now. They asked him to talk about what on revenue sharing about, well, how's that going to split up? Do they have numbers on, what program's going to get what percent? Or, they ask him about his staff. He doesn't necessarily have staff filled out. They're kept trying to poke and prod little things about how many people are going to be in your staff. How is it going to work for football specific, basketball specific, things like that. They even brought up the whole lawsuit with Madden Amaliava and, and things like that. And, stuff that there was a lot of answers where he was more like, I can't comment on that or, things like that. But he did get in front of things talking about how he's excited to be here, work with the coaches, how he's going to be, he wants to have an open relationship, open communication with these coaches and being able to help them out with whatever they need. Especially when it comes to that, specifically that GM role, being a guy that he can essentially talk money with these kids and let the coaches do the coaching and worry about that. And, Sam Pittman, right after we hired him, he said he's glad for the hire just because, that takes that aspect off his plate where he can focus on the actual game of football and things of that nature, not have to worry about negotiating with these kids on NIL contracts, whatever it may be. So, I think that's been open arms from Sam that he talked about him and Sam having several conversations, and it's just good to have that with him. He talked about how he's trying to catch up with Cal. He's just busy. He was talking about how he's just in OKC for the NBA Finals. He's been busy recruiting and doing stuff for the past 9 months. When it's summertime, these coaches are trying to get on vacation and things like that. And so he's been a very busy guy to catch up with. But what are your initial thoughts from, finally getting to hear from the guy that's going to be kind of handling that GM role for Arkansas and more of the money, and as we're getting things out about the revenue sharing and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, this is all new for everybody. I mean, this is all new for college football and college sports in general. Obviously, college football is the king of college sports. So, I mean, it's new, and having a GM and a college sport just feels just doesn't feel right, honestly. So it's kind of like, I mean, you think about he's got to be the GM of all these sports on campus. Normally, he's used to being a GM of just a basketball team. And he talked a lot about finding the right guys to find the right talent. When you're just I don't know, it's just there's so many pieces in play now for college. It's just like you have to have and the one thing that kind of was just a little bit weird to me was the fact that he said he had no staff. So it's like if you're talking about all these sports, and let's talk about the three major sports, basketball, which has a Hall of Fame coach, really don't need a GM's help. Maybe with a little bit there for NIL stuff, but when it comes to recruiting, Calipari don't need help with that. And Dave Van Horn, he shouldn't even have to worry about baseball. There's no help needed there. So really, it's football that's, the head coach is very fortunate to have him there, so he don't have to worry about those conversations anymore. But this is all new, man. Like this whole like it's just weird. It's really weird feeling that college football is like this now. And it's hard for me to really, it's cool to see him talk for once or GM talk for once, but it's hard for me to really gauge to see what kind of job is being done when I hear there's no staff in place. So it's like, what are we? And he's talking about his family is still getting adjusted or whatever. Like, when did we hire him? I can't remember when that was, but
I believe it was back around, I want to say April, March.
So there hadn't really been a whole lot of time to really do much, because around that time of year, the football team is really already established at that point for the upcoming season. And
Plus, I mean, you're mid, at that point, you're mid also around that time,
didn't he get hired when I was up there for the A&M series? Wasn't that weekend?
So he officially joined on April 1st.
Okay, so that was right before. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird for me to give any kind of thoughts on it, just because it's like, like let me get a full cycle of seeing what he does whenever a season just ends and all this portal, because you think about college football, like that portal starts popping off as soon as the LSU, well, it used to be Missouri game's over with. Like, they don't wait for the bowl games. We know bowl games are irrelevant in college football. So let me see what happens on that when December rolls around, and let's see what he really is capable of doing.
Right. And, it's some good points here by Transplant Texan talking about during the presser. His cross-arm body language is very indicative of being guarded, defensive, or possibly self-soothing. His answers and body language didn't give him confidence. The money is the money, which was a quote from Remy Cofield. And it may be because it was his first press conference. He didn't want to he was, I guess, being cautious. Don't want to try to make excuses, but I don't know. I get what you're saying there, transplant Texan. It was very interesting to see, the way he worded some of his answers, the way he went about things in the presser. The fact that since April, it's now June. This is the first time we've heard from him. Kind of a call back to last year with Cal. Transplant Texan said Remy met with the staff. There is no staff. So yeah, I mean, you've been in the role for 2 to 3 months and you haven't hired anybody or made any staff moves to kind of help you with these things. And to the point, the only coach that really needs a ton of help from Remy is Sam. Like you said, you've got a Hall of Fame coach. He markets himself. Kids, yeah, there'll be some negotiating, but it's probably not going to be hard to get them to come play for Coach Cal. DVH, the Arkansas baseball program markets itself. Kids are going to come here because they see what talent we've put in the league, the consistency of the product we put on the field every year in and year out. The facilities we have are easily up to par, or if not better than some double AAA teams. So, Sam Pittman's the only one that, really needs that help. And to Hobbs' point, let's get December here. Would it make a big difference with Cofield being here? Last year, say, would we have lost guys like Has or guys that maybe went and asked for more money and Sam was just like, no. What was that?
Brothers. We lost the Metcalf brothers. Could we have kept them?
Yeah, it's like, so does it get to that point next year when maybe there's some guys that, you're able to hold on to that, otherwise, would have left the same situation? We don't know. So we've got to get there. Transplant Texas here says, Remy said, Hunter Yurachek, a person open to new ideas. Does Remy know Yurachek was reluctant to buy into NIL? That's an interesting thought there too. I mean, it's, has Yurachek changed? More than likely not, but it's hard to take for some of this with a lot of this for what it is right now until you see action. He says all these things, but to Hobbs' point, to later down the road, whenever it's going to be key for him to, actually help Arkansas like he said he wants to. Let's see some action behind, all this. And not saying that in a bad way towards the guy, but it's like it's hard to take all that at face value whenever this is your first press conference in about, 3 months since you've been on staff technically. You don't have a staff. You openly say you don't have a staff. You're not even sure how many staff members you're going to hire and things like that. So let's see how this goes. He did mention he wants to be at Arkansas for a long time. So, at least he's wanting to put in the work and would like to be here long term. I did catch this quote that you mentioned here too, Transplant Texan, is he mentioned that he wanted to get off the hamster wheel at Boston. Like, he, like you said, he could have done the same thing over and over again there, going through, the NBA draft, preseason, G League, 82, game regular season, trade deadlines, all that stuff, and then go start it right back over. And yeah, things are going to be a little different in college, but I mean, you're going to have a lot of similar, things in terms of, the pattern, if you will. It's just, have more periods of, you've got all the recruitments, you've got, all of the March Madness, Omaha, any potential bowl games. So you're going to have shorter cycles of what he kind of outlined there for Boston. Just you're going to have a cycle of that for every sport. You're going to have that same cycle for football, for basketball, for baseball. So, I mean, maybe that's where he can bring some help or expertise in, really knowing how to do that. And then can you shorten that into that cycle that you got to do for each sport in a span of, 3.5 to 4 months, give or take, from, football really gets kicked off with fall camp in August, quote unquote, preseason, through your regular, schedule, to postseason if you make a bowl game type of situation, recruiting, then by the time that wraps up, it's all basketball's here. You're starting to play any exhibition games, non-conference games before January gets here, and you have conference play starting up. Then lo and behold, March is here before you know it, and then you've got the tournament, and then transfer portal opens up for. We didn't even mention that, but transfer portal opens up after the season finishes, and oh wait, baseball starting has been started. So, like with that, he's going to have to.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, and so it's you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it in more sports and more frequently.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the dead period here that we're in now. Summer, enjoy the pool, kick your feet back up a little bit, and see if anything crazy happens. But this is really the dead time. Thank God for college football video games back out where we can play those in this time frame. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a different world than we're used to. It's still crazy to me. You think of guys like Nick Saban that left the game because of how different it is now, and it's just we really don't know who's going to be a good GM in college yet. I mean, they're hiring these guys that did it in the professional, but one sport, dealing with the 12-man roster with one little budget. This guy's got to deal with all kinds of sports, and let me tell you something: football is everybody loves football, but the rest of the sports on campus are pretty freaking good. So
yeah,
you got to really manage it properly, without affecting the other sports on campus.
Yeah, 100%. Like Transplant Texas says, was more expected from his presser since UVA waited so long to hire a GM to begin with, and that he's been on the job for 3 months. I think, I expect a little bit more, maybe not because the university waited so long, but because he has been here for 3 months. It almost makes me, the question about my head, well, if you don't have a staff, what have you been doing for 3 months? And I get he's probably been behind the scenes working and figuring out with all of this revenue sharing and this legislation, all that. I get that. And that's probably a lot to go through and process, from a standpoint of understanding what the university can do, how they can do it, what's best to, like you said, how are things going to be allocated from a percentage of the revenue sharing? Ideally, they even said, hey, some schools are listed out and, publicly put out there how they're dividing out their revenue sharing per sport. And he was like, yeah, that's good and all to see that, we can look at that, but, they're not going to, mention that at the time, or not going to put that out. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like you said, over the coming months, over the next year or so, how his role grows, I guess, how much communication we get from him. Like, is he going to have, very limited press conferences, more press conferences? Like, what is his media approach going to be, I guess? And then also, how is it going to affect? Are we going to see maybe football surprise us with some guys they bring in, or, things like that? So I'll be interested to see what effects come down from this and what we see from a standpoint of, benefits of having a GM. I mean, we were one of few, I think 2 schools in the SEC before we hired him that didn't have a GM. And so,
yeah, it's really, when I think about the timing of everything, it really makes me think he's only here for football. Because when you look at, he's doing a press conference right before all the other press conferences about to start happening for football. They got the SEC Media Days coming up. And you also want to look at the roster size of football compared to other sports is tremendously lot bigger. So, and we also have a head coach that does not want to discuss money with players. So it's almost that's how I feel is this is what he's here for.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and it might have been one of those things where it's like, we'll bring you on. Your main focus now is we really need your help on the football side of things, and the other things we might need your opinion on, but we've got Coach X and Y here, so it's like, and point, Transplant Texan said here, what do we just think when Cal's just casually having dinner with Nolan Richardson, but Remy hasn't confirmed him on the calendar for a meeting? Because I mean, if you saw the picture circulating today, Cal, he was having dinner somewhere with Nolan. It seemed like catching up, shooting a breeze, whatever you want to call it. So, but your GM hasn't tracked you down, if you will, to have a quick, 30-minute 45-minute meeting to talk about what you would like him to do for you, anything you needed assistance on, things like that. But
maybe he needed
some what it is.
Unpacking his boxes and getting moved in. We'll see. I don't know, but it's we got some time to see what happens, because like I said, this is all new to everybody. So it's like, what exactly are we to expect here?
Right. Transplant Texan said at one of Sam's pressers, he referred to his GM as his buffer. And I mean, I think that's probably interesting to see what how full effect that is to, is he just not talking money and that's his buffer? But to kind of join in on this conversation, Austin is ready to jump in. He is having to put out an article regarding Aduthiero, but now he's ready.
I thought you said we weren't going to let him back in here.
Yeah. Hey man, you know how many times stuff like that happens? Like, I'm about to do something, and it's always with these drafts. I'm about to do something, and then all of a sudden one of our guys gets drafted. I'm like, gosh, dang it. Because I figured I could come on, talk for a minute or two, because he didn't go in the first, 4 or 5 picks or whatever. So I was like, maybe he's going to go back a lot further. So I'm like, why not on and then hop off for a second, ride it, and pop back on? Nope. As soon as we're about to go on, Caleb's like, hey, he just got drafted by the Lakers. I was like, oh, great. All right. So,
yeah.
Anyway, what's the discussion?
To catch you up, we're kind of talking about, the conversation, the press conference we got from Remy Cofield today, and talking about it is very interesting on how there wasn't a lot of substance or meat on the bone from the press conference. You got a lot of answers of like, I'm not going to talk about that, or I can't talk about that right now. You got some answers on, some things regarding revenue sharing, but, initial thoughts on, what was your take from that? And, does it inspire confidence in going forward?
I actually haven't watched it yet. So I've been busy all day. Stop laughing at me. But no, it doesn't worry me. The dude knows what he's doing when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, he worked with the Celtics for years, or at least that organization for years. So I have no doubts he knows what he's doing. Plus, it's his first time getting in front of the camera for the Arkansas media, and maybe there's some things he wants to keep quiet for now. You don't want to put all your cards out on the table before it happens, because you got to think about it. This is all business, right? You don't go into a business meeting, or you don't go on the camera and you tell everybody your business secrets right from the get-go. So I don't think there's anything from it. Most likely it's going to be super political, super like not really a whole lot to talk about, but enough to make an article type of thing. But I don't think you'll hear a whole lot from him, especially this early on. But I have no doubts he'll figure something out. Now maybe he might have to, fight some boosters and stuff like that, because you know how it is. That might also be it too. He's trying to, I guess, tiptoe his way around at first to see, how things are. But other than that, no, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It's like, I think the big point, a lot of people are interested in the fact that, he's been on the job for 3 months and this is our first time hearing from him. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't exactly whenever I think about it, I don't think about, hearing from him, because how many times you see like front office guys get in front of the camera for like in the NFL? It's not a lot. I mean, they still do it, but it's not a lot. Plus he's still getting
It's
his
quite
bearings. So
frequent
I
if you're
don't.
Jerry Jones.
Well, that's Jerry Jones. Okay. That man's probably going to have a camera staring at him in his coffin. Okay. Like, the dude just loves the camera.
He's on TV shows now.
And the radio.
Hey,
once a week.
okay. Let's give him his due. Okay.
He did good.
What is that? Landman?
Hey, man, yeah.
He missed his freaking calling, dude. Like,
He did
that
good.
was good acting. That was good acting.
Yeah.
You know what we're talking like, right, Caleb?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what's your thoughts on this, Austin? On Transplant Text mentioned a little bit earlier, but he said Remy may know his job, but he has not had his eyes open to Hunter Yurachek. Made the comment that Hunter Yurachek is a person open to new ideas. When Hunter Yurachek dragged his feet on NIL and getting a GM.
Hey, that's a good point. He may be more open to new ideas now that he kind of has to. That might be more of a necessity and not a character trait. So yeah, I don't doubt it. But here's the thing too. I mean, you think athletic director and then you got the GM right there. They can't be much. They got to be equals, right? Like, I don't think you can have a GM that's totally answering to an athletic director, if that makes sense. Because it just doesn't, that dynamic doesn't really make sense to me. So, yeah, he may be open to new ideas, but I don't know if he's going to have a whole lot of pull if Remy wants to do something that Hunter Yurachek doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like having two athletic directors. Just one handles the finances for the players, the other one handles finances for the university.
Yeah. And I mean, it's to Hobbs' point earlier. We kind of were talking too. It's like, you're kind of going into the dead period right now. It's like, let's see, what we hear from him, what he does, and what his contributions are once it gets to, into like, quote unquote preseason and fall camp for football, and then into once you get into sports actually happening, and what does he do to benefit, like to the point of Transplant Text and said it earlier, we kind of talked about this, was if you're looking at the coaching staff, Coach Pittman's probably the only coach that really needs his help, because a Hall of Fame coach and Coach Cal, I'm sure he's got his business. He handles it the way, and he has things squared off pretty well. Dave Van Horn is, like we talked about, Arkansas recruits itself. It's a machine. It runs the way it needs to, and perfectly fine. Let's not mess with it, And so, but, in a presser, you've only heard Pittman be the one that would said, yeah, it's great to have one to, be able to, help, as Transplant Tech said earlier, be a buffer, and that way Pittman doesn't have to deal with money. You haven't heard DVH or Cal necessarily speak about, not liking to deal with money and things like that. So,
yeah, yeah, I think it is true that's kind of, he's going to be the one that needs the most help. And to be fair, Arkansas their football team has been way behind, because whether or not you like it, what all the antics that came with Eric Musselman, all that branding that he did really set it up for what Arkansas is doing now with John Calipari, right? Like, I don't think you have a John Calipari at Arkansas without having Eric Musselman first. You probably don't have an Eric Musselman without a Mike Anderson. There's a whole big line and this is nearly, a decade in the making. That's how long it took for them to rebuild this basketball class, or this basketball program. And that's probably what it's going to be like for the Arkansas football program, because if not more so, because just the overall damage has happened in the last 15 years. To go from, finishing like top 5 in the country to Chad Morris, that's a lot of damage.
Well, I mean, you can talk about you can start the blame with your offensive coordinator right now. He's the one that started it. So
yeah, that's true. Hey, you know what?
I get
Full
it.
circle, and it starts to get better. It was meant to happen. But here's the thing about all this, getting them in front of the place and, and telling you what's going on. Look, I don't care if my plumber gets up and talks to the media. I just care that he fixes my plumbing, right? Like, I don't care if Remy goes in and talks to the media at all, as long as the results start happening. Like, the dude could be a recluse, but as long as Arkansas's football program and Arkansas's basketball program keep moving forward, that's all I care about. So, like, I think it's a big nothing burger that they're. Do what? I didn't know. But that's because baseball, of course, is going to be like that. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
What's his name? Dave Van Horn's going to pick his successor, and it's just going to be a dynasty.
They're going to keep going. It's all good. Yeah. It's built. That program is built.
I'm not even worried about baseball. Like basketball, I'm slightly worried because, there's so much. It's not that I'm worried. It's just I see the potential for it to regress. Football is already like skin and bones. So
fair enough. I mean, I'm just saying, said Hunter and Remy will work like a GM and a personal player director. So it's going to be interesting. And like we said, there's going to be a little bit of wait and see. It's like, do we see changes, improvements, etc. And that's going to be interesting to see throughout the, as we go into this first, sports calendar with a GM.
Like I said, we'll see what he's all about once that portal opens for the first time.
Hey, here's the thing, though. If you're going to, I've got high hopes for him because look what a GM did for Texas Tech. It took them a couple years, but look at what they're doing in every single sport. I mean, they're
with Arkansas in the bowl game.
Do what?
He said, does that include losing to Arkansas in a bowl game?
Yeah. And then beating us in the NCAA tournament. So they're 1 for 1 right now.
That was a disaster. But
hey, to be fair, Arkansas beat themselves in that, okay?
That's the only way that they lose games here lately is they beat themselves in the most horrible ways.
I freaking know it, dude. I wrote a whole thing on it. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like asking if Hawgs are cursed or if it was just a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I mean, you think about it, Oklahoma State game. We had almost 800 total yards of offense, lose the game. Texas Tech, you're up by 18 at half. What was it, 18 at half? And double digits with like
you were up by 10 with 4 minutes left.
I'm not even gonna mention baseball. I don't even want to talk about that right now. But
he's still got a little too much PTSD.
The ultimate battle and rivalry: Arkansas versus Arkansas.
That's good.
that is very true. Very true.
Right. At the end of the day, like Trent explained text here, we didn't learn too much, but probably more than we learned from a Pittman presser or have heard from Hunter Yurachek lately. That's another one too. I can tell you the last time we have had a presser or heard from Hunter Yurachek. But that's a whole nother thing that it is what it is. But yes, so you got your first words from Remy Cofield today as Arkansas's new GM. Make out of it what you will. To me, like I said before you jumped on Austin, it's kind of like they say, the proof's in the pudding. Let's see, what action he has and how much volume does that speak once we kind of get into things where his services or, his expertise will be very helpful.
And to be fair, you're not going to see it this football season, though.
No.
Right. There's not a whole lot. You may see it in the recruiting class coming up.
No, I'm saying the portal for December. This is when we know.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what? That's 4 months from now? No, it's 5 months from now. So, that's when we know. He's been then he'll be on the job for 8 months. No excuses. You had time to plant your flag and get your crap together. Let me see what you do in the portal. Are you going to let the football team leave again? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know if you want to play it now, but that thing we were talking about at the beginning, heck, that might have been one of his initiatives. Who even knows?
Secrets, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I think Transplant Texan is purposely trying to get Hobbs on a soapbox here with his last comment. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and show it. May regret this later, but Transplant Texas said baseball. Golden Spikes winner, second team All-American shortstop by D1 baseball, and the only Razorback mention, Hobbs go.
Yeah.
I think Austin's face says it all.
How did I miss that?
Yeah. So
D1 baseball only had one Razorback on the All-American team,
and it was the second team, and it was Vahiva Aloy.
Yeah. So I commented. I told them their page earlier. They've fallen off. They're no longer the top supremacy of college baseball news. Because
who was the shortstop they had ahead of Vahiva?
A guy from UCLA. Yeah. So, and they had the shortstop for Florida State as a DH on the All-American team. It just confuses me. So they had two shortstops ahead of Aloy on the All-American team. So, yeah, it's just another slap in the face to Arkansas baseball. The disrespect that the program continues to get. It's just like, oh, well, we gave him the player of the year. We need to honor this other person too. No, you really don't. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. That's just listen, man, college baseball and the way they do stuff, it's crazy.
Yeah. That was shocking to me too. Even the fact that, I'll understand it a little bit, but the fact that, he was not even on the College World Series team either. Like, sure, yeah, he's behind, you put the guy that was on the winning team there, but still, man won the Golden Spikes. Give him his flowers when it's due. Like, come on. Like, man's about to be a top 20 pick here in less than 2 weeks. So,
Yeah, it's that's all they're going to remember him for is not turning the double play, and that's all I keep hearing about. Oh, I posted the about us getting our new shortstop a couple of days ago, and one of the comments is like, "Can he turn a double play?" Like, really? Like, come on, man. Like let's. It is what it is. So, if you don't know the pressure that comes with those moments, man, if my heart's beating out of my chest watching it on TV, I can only imagine what they're going through on the field. So, yeah, it's just it's whatever. So at this point, he's going to go on to make millions of dollars, and if he gets if he can start hitting the slider a little bit better, he could be in the big leagues in no time.
Yeah. Like Transplant Texan said, they must have thought Vahiva was in Alaska on the Arizona Razorbacks. He said, "Oh, that's the NCAA."
Oh gosh, man! It's
how do they always get that wrong? What's funny is that we'll have I work for a trucking company, so we have drivers that come in and out, and then I had this one driver that's like, "Oh, I'm going to Bentontown, Arizona," and I'm like. And I looked at his dispatch, and he's going to Bentonville, Arkansas. I was like, "Bro," I said, "Where are you going again?" He's like, "Oh, Arkansas." And I was like, "Yeah, I just want to make sure you're going the right direction, man."
You're like, "Please don't go to Arizona."
Yeah, it's like, don't go
1,500
miles out of route.
Yeah, but
have you ever looked at a USA map in school geography class? Like, come on, man! Like,
dude. So my story time, my grandma went to New York once when she was working. She's retired now, but she got in this cab, and the guy who's driving the cab was like, "So where are you from?" And my grandma was like, "I'm from Arkansas." He's like, "Where's that? Jersey?" My grandma was like, "No,
what?
That's a state."
Oh
So
my God.
there's people that don't even like, especially if you're like a big city like that. Sometimes they don't even know what's outside of outside of the city. Have you ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like Charlie, never wanting to leave Philadelphia. There's people really like that.
Transplant.
Hey, we need to have a segment.
You read my mind here. Story time with Austin.
Hey, if you can if you can do those clapping things now, you can put out a graphic that says "Story Time with Austin" and then make it even better.
Oh man,
fair enough.
He's like, no,
but
I know what that means.
I agree with Transplant Texan here. He said the NCAA and ESPN had an epic fail in the lackluster Golden Spikes award ceremony. I've seen better end of the year T-ball participation award ceremonies. You give them the award in front of batting practice. You know, like even the way they read it off, the winner of the Golden Spikes, Vahiva Aloy. Come on, like hype it up a little bit at least. Like it's like here's a little, trophy for you. No, you were just named the best player in college baseball.
Here's a better thing. Why don't you wait until after the baseball season to do it? Like there's a week, like 2 weeks between the end of the baseball season and the drafts, right?
Yeah, or how about we have it done at the draft? Right before the draft starts, because they're going to be first round picks anyway.
Out of all like the professional leagues, I feel like the MLB would be the most like open to it.
Yeah,
because like, do you know how many things I get from like MLB.com that has to do with college? You can't go on to NFL.com or in the NBA site and see stuff like that. It's only MLB that does it.
Yeah.
Yep. But it is what it is, man. It's just the way college baseball doesn't get the coverage that it's never gotten the coverage it should get.
Fair enough. But we're going to cover it over here. So never fear. Tune in to Hawgs on the Hill for your Arkansas baseball coverage. But so, with that, talking on baseball, Hobbs hinted at it a while ago. Arkansas did get one of their first commits out of the transfer portal at third, I guess technically so far, and potentially Vahiva's replacement in Ball State shortstop Dylan Grego coming in. He was an all-conference player at Ball State. You look at his numbers in 2025, played in 58 games, hit 376 with 58 runs scored, 91 hits, 14 doubles, 2 triples, 14 home runs, 55 RBIs, walked 22 times, only struck out 44 times, and stole 14 bases and only had 5 errors in 58 games. So, I mean, if he can kind of have that jump from Ball State to Arkansas level, I mean, this kid has the chance to be really good next year. And did I mention he's a switch hitter as well?
Yeah.
That's what I'm most excited about. Switch hitter. When you have a switch hitter, it's huge. So I wish they would give you split stats so I can know where he hits left and righties. But I can imagine if you hit 376, you hit both of them pretty good. So and plus Dave is very big on making sure guys can hit lefties these days. So I mean it's always lock and reload, man. It's go and get the best out there, and we got some more splashes we're going to make in the outfield. So hopefully the MLB draft doesn't take one of our outfielders from us, but it's kind of hit or miss where Justin Thomas is going to go right now. They're projecting anywhere between 4th and 10th round. So there's no telling where he ends up. And but yeah, this is the big time get. He had a huge jump because he only hit like 240 his sophomore year. So for what he did this past year is huge. I hope that he can continue that here. I can't imagine that he might do the same numbers in the SEC, but I trust the talent that Dave brings in, and the kid looks legit.
I mean, as we've seen, Dave's no stranger to being able to evaluate talent well, but also, if you know one thing about Dave Van Horn, he's all about being solid defensively. And you're not going to play shortstop for Arkansas if you're not going to be a defensively sound guy that can also hit the ball well. I mean, look at the history of Arkansas shortstops, and that tells you what all you need right there. Transplant Texan said, excited for Grego. Where do we see Cahillo next season? Outfield? He's one of the guys that is going to the Cape, but I mean, there is that potential that I would expect him to not be in that DH role next year, but I think it depends on partially some of his development over the offseason as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I would think. Now, like Hobbs was saying, there could be quite a bit that comes in from the transfer portal for the outfield too. So it just depends. And I feel like there's going to be some good competition there. And if worse comes to worse, it'll just be a DH again.
Yeah, and you saw they tried to play him in the right field, and that's kind of one game this year in the midweek, but that's kind of been the plan that Dave was saying, that he wasn't ready to play in the outfield, because you think about when he was at BYU as a freshman, he was just a DH and a pitcher. So
right.
They were working him out as the right field this year. So just depends on his development. In the summer and the fall ball, if he gets better out there in the field. If not, like you said, it'll still be a DH, because I think the way we had the lineup this year, the fact that there was so much competition in the outfield, and it wasn't a guaranteed spot out there. Because when you think about coming in the year, we were all like, "Oh, Diggs is back. He's going to play out there." No, not so fast. Get a guy like Logan Maxwell come in, and Carson Bowles, and and obviously Davalon and Justin Thomas. There were some shows that Andrew Ellis, Mr. This and that for Arkansas baseball, didn't even mention Justin Thomas in his preseason talks all year long, like he was an afterthought, and not so fast. There's plenty. The portal is wide open right now. Like we may still get 3 or 4 outfitters from the portal.
Yeah, I believe it closes July 2nd. I saw is when the portal will close up, at least for this window anyway.
Yeah, for the window. Yeah.
But another point too that Transplant Texas made, that is, I was trying to think about this in my head about how it would work next season. You got a healthy Souza and you have Kozel back. Who do you see getting the start at second, and where does the other guy go?
Depends. Where does Iredale get drafted? Are we going to lose Iredale? Is he coming back? He's supposed to go in somewhere around the 200s, which would be the 7th or 8th round. So, it's up to him on whether he wants to sign that deal or not, or come back. So, some guys leave drafted around that time frame, and some guys don't. So, it just depends on if he's coming back. And you also got a guy like Souza, who, is he going to be 100% healthy when the season starts? So those are all questions that we can't answer right now. Kozel is definitely going to be either at second, or I don't see him being a shortstop. So Kozel will be there somewhere in the infield, but Robinette should be back. But these are all questions that are hard to tell right now.
Very fair. It's going to be interesting to see what's laid out there for us. As you know, the portal closes, the draft happens. What is going to be? So, talking about summer ball, though, you have a few Arkansas Razorbacks that are playing in summer ball and things like that. So out in California, in the California Collegiate League, you have Brenton Clark, Steele Eves, and Tyler Holland. In the Rocky Mountain Collegiate Baseball League, Carson Willis. In the Cape Cod, everybody talks about the Cape. You've got Cahillo, Hunter Dietz, Colin Fisher, and Tate McGuire. And then for the USA Collegiate National Team camp, you have Gabe Geckel, Cole Gibbler, Ryder Helfrich, and Cam Kozel. So,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a lot of development to be had.
Right.
Yeah, you think about all the pitchers you just named. You know, those are guys that really need to develop. And then you know, the hitting wise, I think our hitting is probably gonna, you know, it's gonna be hard to replicate the 126 home runs we hit this past year, but depending on who we get in the transfer portal. But you know, it's really the pitching that is the question moving forward for me. Can we get Tate McGuire developed? Can we get Colin Fisher developed?
Even a guy like Hunter Dietz, can you get him to where he can contribute?
Can we get?
He's a big arm that was highly talented coming in, and we haven't seen him. You know, he had that injury his freshman year after, you know, one out, I believe it was, one inning at work. And then, you know, this year we thought we were going to get his debut, and then he, you know, gets hurt in the bullpen and, you know, doesn't get to play. And then, you know, Dave brings him in a big moment, and, you know, he kind of doesn't do what needs to be done. And, you know, so it'll be good to come out and have him get some innings under him in the Cape, and, you know, have plenty of opportunities to get some pitches and things like that. For Transplant Texan and those people that I don't know out there, Hobbs, explain summer baseball leagues and what are they?
They're where college players go to play in the summertime. So they take certain level players and separate them. Like you saw, he mentioned Helfrich and Gibbler and Gackle are all going to the same place. That's where the best go. And then you get some guys that are still developing, going to Cape Cod. And then, you know, you get younger guys in the other two. But they play with wooden bats, and they try to develop in the summer. Just basically keep playing baseball, and they're very. There's a lot of good coaches out there that do that, and some of these guys go out there and get really good from it. Like you look at Ryder Helfrich and the develop he had over the summer, that had a lot to do with it. So. You know, it's you don't want to just stop playing baseball. You want to keep playing it. It's not really the sport you want to, you know, stop playing it. So
yeah.
They go. The MLB does that too, right?
Well, the MLB pretty much plays almost year round. So
that's true. Yeah, but back in the day, they would do summer camps like that too, because I know Hot Springs is actually was a huge hot spot for those summer camps. And was it? I think it was Babe Ruth. It's the quote unquote the longest home run in the history of baseball or something like that. They have it. I don't know if you've ever been there. All right. So there's the north part of town where downtown is. And then to the left, Austin. All right. Story time with Austin. There's somewhere over to the east. I think there's it's an alligator farm. So they got alligators there. Right. Well, across the street, there used to be a baseball park. And that's supposedly where he hit the longest home run ever recorded, kind of thing. And now it's a parking lot, but they still have that home plate embedded in the parking lot. So if you've never gone to Hot Springs, Hobbs, and checked out the baseball history there, dude, you've got to go. That's one of the biggest things down there is the old timey baseball. And there's a
oh man, that was fantastic.
Thing, okay, it's interesting. But seriously, go check it out. A lot of cool history there, and that'll actually help you look it up, help you understand what the summer leagues are.
100%. But yes, so Transplant Texan, you're right. I'm gonna have to make the graphic for Austin and come up with a nice little sound for it. So maybe that's going to be in the coming weeks. So we'll have to see. So yeah, lots of baseball. These kids get baseball year round, so it's going to be fun to see the development, especially like Hobbs mentioned, what you saw, the jump that Ryder Helfrich made. So guys like Dietz and, if they can, if one thing comes out of this and they can teach Cahill how to hit a slider and breaking ball, fantastic. So,
True.
Man, just get his confidence back, man. Stop all the fishing and go date a hot girl,
man.
Jesus. Okay.
Anyway, with that, we'll move on. We kind of hit on it earlier when Austin jumped in, but Adiu Thero drafted, didn't go in the first round like we thought he might potentially go near that mid to bottom part of the first round. The big thing they were talking about on the radio this morning was breaking Cal's 17-year streak of having a first round pick. Not that big of a deal. Glad to see him get drafted. He did get drafted to the Lakers. The Nets traded that pick to the Lakers. The Lakers traded up twice in the second round. And Adiu Thero is going to go be teammates with Luka and LeBron James. He might play in the G League a little bit for LA too, so he'll get to spend plenty of time with Bronny James as well.
Yep.
You know what? Did they even draft a big guy?
The Lakers?
Yeah.
I only think they have one pick. They traded their first round pick to Dallas. That ended up being Cooper Flag. So I think they only have one pick. So they're probably gonna have to sign somebody.
Yeah, because that's what they need. I'm not saying I hate him going to LA, but they need to get some bigs over there. They ain't got any. Not any good ones.
They traded their good one away.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like true bigs. Like I know Cooper Flag's a good like power forward, or is he a power forward? I think he is. But they need like a good center. They traded away Anthony Davis, and they just really don't have anything. But that trade still is insane to me. Like, there's no way I'm going to be a Mavs fan after that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. I don't know. Lakers, it looks like they have one more pick towards the bottom of the second round. So maybe they draft a big guy. Maybe they don't. Who knows?
Here's
LeBron
the thing,
James does it all.
The end of the second. Did you see the thing about him? Like, he's going to play until he's 50. I don't know if that was like a legit saying by him or not. He's probably wanting to try and win a national champion or a NBA championship with his son. That's probably
just
what he's trying to
be
do.
on the roster and do it. Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. But yeah, so congrats for Thero. Glad to see that happen. Glad he's getting a shot. Wish he would have been back in a Razorback uniform, but props to him for taking a shot and going to be heading out west to make some money. And we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see him, in the G League for a little bit, but then maybe he gets an opportunity on the big stage to, do his thing. As Transplant Texan says, La Baby's Lakers, they are what they are.
La Flop.
Hey, I'm not a LeBron hater, okay? I like LeBron. I mean, maybe not as a person, but as a basketball player, he's legit. Now his son, there's some nepotism there, I think. But
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's been an interesting day with the press conference. Adiu Thero getting drafted, finally some action. I saw it the other day. Did you guys see Talon got engaged the other day?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't see that.
So congrats to him.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Hey, he didn't just find a. Hey, what's his name? What the heck? Landon Jackson got married while he was still in college, and he kept up his
Fair enough.
More
focus on the playbook than the wedding planner.
Yeah. Trust me, like as a guy, you're not going to do good anyway. Just let her do all of it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. So let that playbook open up.
Hobbs over here acting like what? No, we know what we're talking. He knows what we're talking about.
I've been engaged before, buddy. Thank you very much.
Have you been married yet?
No, I called that off.
Okay, then you hadn't got through the hardest part of your marriage, the wedding planning.
Thank the Lord for that.
There you go. As Transplant Texan said, Taylor put a ring on it. So again, congrats to him. Now time to focus on getting ready for fall camp.
No, I'm just playing.
Time to get ready to focus on fall camp and hopefully leading the Razorbacks to a decent season. We'll get into that in the coming weeks as we start our position breakdown soon. And apparently going to start having weekly segments of Storytime with Austin. But going forward, it's going to be interesting. We are hitting that dead period of it's going to be some more very random, very around the horn, flipping to different topics of things on this show. As you know, baseball is wrapped up and you don't have anything really until August and fall camp gets here. In between you have the Major League Draft. So we'll talk about, Vahiva, Gage, the two guys that we know are probably going to go pretty high, but we'll also talk about what happens with, some other guys, they get drafted. Will they stay? Will they go and take the money? Things like that. So, the draft's in a few weeks. So, once that rolls around, we'll have that to talk about. And like I said, we'll get our position by position breakdown over the summer started as fall camp will be here before you know it. As you know, next week we're in July already. So it's already starting to fly by. And, we'll keep it rolling here. So as we get ready to wrap up, anything else from you guys before we decide to get out of here?
No, sir.
No, just want to mention that the team with a below 500 record in the history of their program is considered a top 25 place to play to EA College Sports. So,
I forgot we didn't even hit on this. I mentioned this earlier. The release of the College Football 26 is coming out soon.
Yes.
And EA dropped their top 25 rankings for best stadiums. And to Hobbs' point, if you get what he was talking about, Mississippi State was ranked as one of the toughest places to play in college football.
And weren't we?
The thing is, we were on the list last year. We were number 23, I believe. Which is funny because number 23 now is Oklahoma State, and
that's what we get for losing.
Not a hard place to play either.
Yeah,
but it wasn't there. It wasn't because they did anything. It's because Arkansas shot themselves in the foot.
Okay? It's not nothing.
They don't care.
Yeah, they were horrible last year. Hey, look, the only reason why Mississippi State is on that list is because of cowbells. I don't know who makes those graphics, but they need to stop watching vintage Saturday Night Live. All right, we don't need more cowbell. Okay, need less cowbell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's one of the most annoying places. I don't know.
I will say that's one thing I have experienced in person is a game in Starkville while I was in college, and it was as annoying as crap. It was I think it was the last year that they had Dak Prescott.
Oh, so when they were actually good?
Yeah, the only years they've really been decent. But yeah, I mean, it's just like if we want to talk about one of the worst programs in the SEC when it comes to football historically, they may be the worst. So for them to even be acknowledged,
there's Vandy still
football. Who? Well, yeah, there's Vandy, but their stadium
Yeah,
don't
but
even
they beat Alabama this year.
their
so
stadium don't even really count when it compared to the rest of the schools. But yeah, I mean, it's just
is it still under construction?
so,
I don't know. Is it? I think they finally finished it up by the end of the season.
If they would just put the cranes holding the scoreboard in the video game, that would be perfect.
oh,
Yes, let's do it. That would be hilarious.
apparently our mascot
I'm
is
still
in the game this year.
I noticed that. I asked people about that last year. When I was playing, you'd see all the other mascots, but I'm like, where's Big Red? Did they just decide to not put him in the game? I'm glad I'm not the only one that knows that. So,
huh?
Yeah,
I don't know. I still haven't played
apparently
it.
they're opening up too. One of the big things is, they had it for regular gameplay this year, but in the new version, they're going to have cross-play for Dynasty.
they are,
which is
That is the thing.
fantastic because
Yeah.
with all those poor unfortunate friends that I have that have Xboxes, they can play with me now on my PlayStation.
Yeah,
First of all,
it's true.
okay, I'm not going to get into it. No more story time.
No more story time.
I'm not going to argue with you about Xbox versus PlayStation.
Max of 2 segments per show, Austin.
Okay, the first one I didn't play in. All right.
Oh man.
But yes, with all that heated debate now, your friends that have Xbox or vice versa, if you're an Xbox person that has a friend that has PlayStation, you can now have a dynasty together with the new college football that's coming out. So,
Or if you're a weirdo who plays college football on PC, you can play it too.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's super weird. I don't know how they do that.
Like I get like Call of Duty or something because it's just a little bit easier with the mouse, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
ain't no way playing college football on it.
I just can't wait to be running around everywhere at Taylor Green. Just gonna go off.
Or you can just hand it off to Braylon Russell to run over guys too.
Yeah, we'll see.
Here's the thing: you're going to have to be running around with Braylon Russell or with Taylor Green. Depends on which roster they put on. If you have last year's roster, you can actually throw touchdowns to Andrew Armstrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they normally come out with the roster.
After what happened in the offseason, though, I might have to bench Luke Haas, though.
Yeah, well, he's on that. He's wearing the light blue now.
So that'll be interesting to see if they have how updated their rosters are going to be when it comes out. Is it going to be last year's season technically that they have? More than likely, yes. But if so, then might have to. He'll get benched. Kudus will get benched. The Metcalf
it'll be the roster we have now.
Yeah, I think it'll be the updated roster.
Yeah, it's the updated roster.
Think.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be where they're supposed to be.
And if that's the case, then I was going to say you'll probably have to be running around with Taylor Green a lot because who are you going to throw to? We don't really know that yet. So,
well, I'll find out.
Yeah,
I knew who Desmond.
According to College Football 25, who our top receivers are going to be.
Who's the guy that caught the 94-yard touchdown against Tech?
Desmond James.
Yeah, I knew who he was on the video game because I was like 99 speed. Let me put this guy in. Boom, gone. Just like in real life, gone. So yeah, that's. I mean, this is what I love. What I've always loved about college video games too is that you got to learn the roster really before you saw these players, and now these kids, and then of course I feel like kid again playing the game. So doing the same thing, learning who these players are because it's just the way to do it. So unfortunately, though, they can turn around and leave in 4 months. So
fair enough. So
true.
That'll be coming out within the coming weeks.
First thing I want to see, Taylor Green. He better not be anything less than a 93 overall. They'll probably jip him, and he probably won't be. Better have like 97 speed. Number 2, our kicker. Kicker better have a very high rating. This is the number 1 kicking recruit in the country. So he better be highly rated too. Other than that, they'll probably screw us. But yeah, So
There you go, EA. Hobbs
and
let
then
you know how you need-
Davion Sword, he better be 90 overall too. Like, don't be jipping us.
Oh, so we'll get Hobbs' reaction after he plays the game.
Yes.
Once it comes out, and we'll get a Hobbs review on here. So that may be the other segment we start adding Hobbs reviews, whatever. So story time with Austin, Hobbs reviews. Yeah, it's ever evolving over here at Hogs on the Hill. So it is what it is. So we got to keep things interesting around here. So, but with that, we'll get ready to wrap up here. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. As Transplant Text says, like, subscribe, and select all notifications. That means hitting that bell. That way anytime we go live and you don't miss it. Anytime there's breaking news or our weekly episodes. And so we'll get ready to wrap up and get out of here. Tomorrow's Friday. Everybody have a great Friday. Next week's the week of the 4th of July. So it's going to be vacation time, and it's going to be things like that. So everybody, you have a great rest of your week. Have a good Friday. And we'll be back Sunday with any news that happens between now and then. And, expect a show with with different topics and things like that. With being the dead period, we'll find things to talk about and get it Razorback related. And maybe you just might see the official debut of the graphic of Storytime with Austin. So we'll see. No pressure, Austin, to have good story times for the show. So with that,
I'll have story time. I don't know if they'll be good.
There you go. At least it'll be here. Not sure if it'll be good or not. That we'll let Transplant Text and tell us. So with that, with Austin, Hobbs, myself, we're gonna get out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Sunday for our Razor recap. With that, we're out here. We'll see you guys.